Hello, lovely humans! Jen Foxbot here. In today's Math Monday episode, we are going to dive into percentages. All right! But wait, what is a percentage? And why should you care about it? Well, a percentage is really just a proportion of things, and we should care about it because it helps us to better understand the world around us. And it's actually really useful for all sorts of questions, like what percentage of an octopus is made of legs? I wonder. Or what proportion of my dog's toys are cute little stuffed animals? Interesting. Or even, how much time do I spend contemplating whether I should do an activity versus actually doing that activity? With percentages, we can figure out all of these things and more. Woohoo! They're also really useful for lots more practical applications. For example, how much of my monthly income should I be spending on rent? That is a very crucial question, especially if you live in a place like Seattle where it's really expensive. It's a hard question to ask ourselves. But with some guidance, we can use percentages to make better decisions for ourselves and our communities. Okay, so while the examples I gave earlier are fun, let's dive into this kind of practical application because I want you to actually be able to do this in your own life. We all have to live somewhere, right? So we might as well understand how to use math to make our lives better. So the recommendation is to spend about 30% of your monthly income, or less if possible, on housing. So what does that actually mean? As I've mentioned a lot of times before, math is just a language. And so if we're talking about percentages, it really just means being able to interpret the percentage sign. And what the percentage sign means is that this number, 30%, is divided by 100. So a percentage is kind of code for a special kind of fraction that is always out of 100. As another example, let's say we had 75%. This would be 75 out of 100. Let's say we had, 3,125%. Then this would just be 3,125 out of 100. Cool. No big deal. Now that we know how to read the percentage sign, we can rewrite this in a way that's a little bit easier for us to do calculations with. And we can simplify. Yeah! All right, so I like tens because we can just cancel the zeros and we get 3 out of 10. This one, 75 out of 100, can be reduced to 3 out of 4. This one can also be reduced, but I can't do that off the top of my head, so that might be a challenge for you. Yay! Audience challenge! What does this one simplify to? Try and do this on paper and not a calculator. You can totally do it. Okay, but let's focus on this 30% and use this to get an estimation for how much we should be spending on rent. And even if we can't hit this benchmark, it's good for us to know so that we can budget appropriately and make sure that we have enough left over for important things like food for myself and my dog, toys for my dog, and things to help us enjoy life as well. So, okay, let's say that I make $1,000 a month. And I am looking for a place to rent, and I'm like, what's my budget? Well, I can use this 30% or 3 out of 10 to figure it out. So what I would do is I would multiply 3 out of 10 times 1,000. And what that looks like is 3 times 1,000, which is going to give me $3,000. Units are important. Divided by 10. And again, I love tens because the zeros cancel and you end up with 300. Okay, cool. So in a place like Seattle, you're like, great, I need to find a bunch of people and get a house. So that, between 7 of us, the house is fairly affordable and I might actually be able to get away with $300 a month. Or find someplace outside the city, more realistic. But you can do this for different types of monthly income too, right? Same procedure. Let's say we had $1,500 a month, but we do 3 over 10 times this. And in this case, we do 3 times 1,500. Here's a little trick. Since it's just a couple of zeros, you can ignore that and say, okay, well, what's 3 times 15? 3 times 15 is going to be 45. So we have 2 zeros left over, so we bring those over, and then again we divide by 10, the zeros cancel, and we get 450. Boom! No big deal, right? You can totally handle this. So let's do one more example. Let's say I made $3,000 in a month on average. So in this case, I'll write this kind of as a whole equation. I'll write this in a different way. And so same thing, 3 times 3 is 9. Now we have 3 zeros left over, so we get 9,000 divided by 10, and now my monthly budget is 900 per month. Pretty cool, right? Fairly straightforward once you get the hang of it. And if this percentage changes, then you just multiply this top number by this amount that you have. So if it was 40%, this would be 4 out of 10, and it would be 4 times 1,000, and then you would carry that on through. All right, so I hope that is helpful. You can totally handle percentages. What you want to do is take the percentage, rewrite it in this form, and then simplify it as much as possible. I personally prefer working with fractions like this, especially when we're doing mental math, because for me, it's much easier to say, okay, what's 3 times 1,000? Okay, that's 3,000, and then divide that by 10, so I get 300. You can also write this in a decimal. Decimals, maybe that's your preferred way to do it, but if you have questions about how to deal with decimals, please let me know, and I'd be happy to cover that. All right. So go forth and math all the things, and happy making / mathing. Yes, okay. Bye.